செல்வா.
ஹலோ சொல்லுங்க சார்.
செல்வா.
எஸ் சார்.
அந்த எங்க மேம் இருக்காங்க, கலைச்செல்வி கீதா மேம், அவங்கள கொஞ்சம் கோ ஹோஸ்டா பண்ணிருவேன்.
ஓகே. உள்ள இருக்காங்களா? வந்துட்டாங்களா?
உள்ள ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. உள்ளதான் இருக்காங்க மேம், உள்ளதான் இருக்காங்க. கலைச்செல்வி கீதா அப்படின்னு இருக்கும், அந்த நேம் இருக்கும்.
மனோகரன்
கலைச்செல்வி கீதா அப்படின்னு நேம் இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அதை பாருங்க கொஞ்சம். எஸ், அவங்க என்னோட மேம். எஸ், அவங்க தான்.
வேற சார்?
வேற ஐ திங்க் சுபாசினி ஆர் அப்படின்னு இருக்கும். சுபாசினி, எஸ், சுபாசினி ஆர்ன்னு இருக்குல்ல, அது பேனலிஸ்டா மாத்திரு.
ஓகே,
அவ்வளவுதான் மோஸ்ட்லி. ஓகே, அவ்வளவுதான். தேங்க்யூப்பா, தேங்க்யூ மேம். குட் மார்னிங், குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன் மேம். மேம் கலைச்செல்வி கீதா மேம்.
Yeah, do you hear me? Yeah.
Hello ma'am.
Hello.
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Ma'am, one sec. Yes ma'am, hearing your voice ma'am.
All right.
Ma'am, once again you check, share your screen ma'am. You check it.
Just a minute, yeah. Video share.
Okay.
My screen is visible to you? I am sharing
yes,
my screen.
Yes ma'am.
All right.
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am.
Shall we start?
Thank you ma'am. No ma'am, wait for a few minutes ma'am. 2 minutes.
All right.
Yes ma'am, thank you ma'am. Ma'am, now you stop the screen ma'am.
Stop sharing my screen.
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Subhasini.
Sir.
Okay ma. Okay, good. செல்வா நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடுவா?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Okay. A very good afternoon, one and all present here. Hope all are doing well. Today, I would like to invite Professor Dr. K. Kalachelvi Geeta ma'am, who is my former class teacher. I am very happy, ma'am. Thanks for accepting my request. Participants, make use of this session to be interactive. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I will call upon my PG scholar Subhasini deliver about the resource person.
Dr. M. Kalachelvi Geeta, Professor of Computer Science and Engineering in Annamalai University, completed her BE from IRCT Erode, MTech from IIT Delhi, and earned her PhD from Annamalai University. She joined the services of Annamalai University in the year of 1994. She has credited a UGC major research project worth rupees 13 lakhs. She has supervised 7 PhDs in machine learning, and currently 8 research scholars are pursuing their doctoral research under her guidance. She has published a book entitled Internet of Things, Novel Advances and Envisioned Applications as editor with Springer Publishers. She has published more than 95 research articles in international journals and conferences. Her research interest includes artificial intelligence and machine learning, pattern recognition, and video surveillance. Thank you.
Thank you, Subhasini. Now the session will hand over to ma'am.
Thank you, Subhashini, and I thank Ambed Kumar for the nice opportunity given to me. So let me give me a moment to share my screen. My screen is visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yeah, actually, I am having my network is unstable, so I have muted my video. So my topic is on 2D CNN architecture. As you all aware, this is gaining popularity. This CNN architecture is gaining popularity, and this architecture is mainly for is used mainly for solving artificial intelligence problems. And these artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning are nowadays they are the buzzwords, as we all know, right? So, and this deep learning is actually a specific subfield of machine learning, right? A new step on learning representations from data, and that puts an emphasis on learning successive layers of increasingly meaningful representations. Okay, so this is what deep learning is. And in deep learning, this convolutional neural network is becoming more popular, and this is a class of deep neural networks most commonly applied to analyzing visual images. Okay, so we are 2D CNN architecture is mainly 2D CNNs are mainly used for analyzing the visual images. And this convolutional neural network, in short, we can call it as ConvNet or CNN. This is a deep learning algorithm which can take in an input image, assign importance. That is, importance in the sense it will be given in by means of weights and biases to various objects in the images, and this will be able to differentiate one from the other, right? So by giving importance to the various portions, various patterns in the images, they are assigning some importance to these patterns that are present in the images. Okay, so this CNN is having a structured representation, right? And we are having more structured layers. Successive layers are stacked one on top of the other. And this is mostly the learning is done only through these successive layers. And in particular, learning is performed only in convolutional layer. And these layers are stacked one on top of the other. And this network actually transforms the 2D images into patterns that are increasingly different from the original image and increasingly informative about the final result. Okay, so you can think of a deep network as a multi-stage information distillation operation where information goes through successive filters and comes out increasingly purified. Okay, So this is what the CNN is, and this is technically a multi-stage way to learn data representations. And so this is what the CNN architecture is, the basis behind the CNN architecture. My screen is visible. Actually, I have moved to another slide. Is this visible? Am I audible? Dr. Ambed Kumar? Am I audible? Ambed Kumar? I do not know whether I am audible or not. All right. All right. I think, okay. Okay, all right. So this is, let us start with a simple introduction about the CNN. So we know that machine learning is about mapping inputs, right? So what is actually required is, suppose we want some understanding about the input, what we are giving as input, right? So initially we used machine learning algorithms, and machine learning algorithms try to learn something out of the input what we are giving to the algorithms. Okay, so these algorithms learned the images, right? So now let us consider images. See, the CNNs and the machine learning algorithms can handle any different types of data. Now let me consider the images, right? You can give the numbers, right? Numbers, figures, anything you can give, right? Any numerical data and the structural data, images, everything can be handled using the machine learning algorithms and deep learning algorithms. Let me talk about the images. Okay, so if you are giving the input to the machine learning algorithms, actually they will consider them as examples, right? So training data has to be given to the machine learning algorithms, and they will consider these training data as the examples, and they will learn from these examples, and they will try to map these examples to learn, and then they will map what they have learned to classify or to diagnose or to identify the images if you are giving set test samples. Okay, so this is what will be done in case of machine learning algorithms. So in case of neural networks also, we want the networks to do this input to target mapping via the deep sequence of simple data transformations, right? So actually we are actually doing some mapping of input to the output, that is desired output. So this input to target mapping is done via the simple data transformations, and this will be done through the layers, the successive layers stacked one on top of the other in case of convolutional neural networks. And that these data transformations are learned from examples, right? The examples in the sense, I mean the training data what we are providing. And the main difference between the machine learning and the deep learning, that is the convolutional neural network neural networks, is that we have to provide in machine learning algorithms, the feature extraction will be done manually. Okay, so we have to perform the feature extraction. So if you are having a very huge amount of data, feature extraction becomes a very tedious process, right? But whereas in case of CNN, that part is not there, will not be there. Straight away, you can give the raw information can be fed to the CNN models, right? That is the main advantage of machine learning algorithms over the deep learning algorithms, right? Somebody is asking some doubts. Somebody has raised your hand. I'll try to answer your queries towards the end of the session, right? All right. So see here, so this is the main difference between the machine learning and the deep learning algorithms. So input to target mapping is done through, that is the learning is done through layers. And the second point is the transformation, and this transformation is parameterized by its weight. So what happens here? It is learning, right? The CNN network is learning. So the learned information will be stored in the form of weights, right? And this is technically called as transformation is parameterized by its weights, right? So in this context, the learning means finding a set of values, right? So weights in the sense we'll be having a bunch of numbers, right? These weights are simply a bunch of numbers, and that is set of values, and the set of values for the weights. And these weights of all layers in the network, and this will be stored, right? So the weights are what? These are the learned information about the images what we are giving as input, right? So this will be in the, these weights are simply some bunch of numbers, and the learning is performed only by the convolutional layer in our CNN model. Now we have learned, right? The learning part is over. So next what? Next we require some output from the learned information, right? So this to control the output of the CNN. So how to control the output, right? So we are expecting some output, and CNN will be providing some output, right? So we have to check whether the expected output matches with the output given by the CNN model, right? So that will be performed by using the softmax function. So to control the output of the CNN, we need to be able to measure how far this output is from the output what we are expecting, right? So that will be done using the softmax function. So if say for example, if you are having 4 classes, right? If you are having a classification problem, and if you are having 4 classes, it computes the probability of each class, right? And the summation of the probability of each classes will be amounts to 1, right? So the probability summation of all the classes, the probability of summation of all the classes amounts to 1, right? So this is the function of our softmax function. So say for example, the deviation is very high, right? So we are expecting some output, but the CNN model is giving some other output, and the difference is very high, right? So in that case, so it is actually performing some learning, right? So learning is performed in convolutional layers. So what we can give, what we shall do? So the learned information can be again back propagated to the layers, to the network, the entire network, and the output that we are obtaining will be back propagated again to the network, right? So that is the main purpose of the back propagation algorithm, right? So this will be taken as the feedback, right? So this will be taken as feedback, and this will be back propagated again to the network, and with that the weights will be again recalculated again, right? And the same process will be carried out for the entire network, right? So this is what is happening in our convolutional neural network, right? So this is a brief introduction about the convolutional neural network, working principle of convolutional neural network. I hope all of you would have obtained some idea on convolutional neural network. Now let me start the explanation of each and every step what we discussed in this particular page, right? Okay. Now let me move on to the next slide. This page is visible. Actually, I have moved to the another slide. I hope this is visible. Okay. So these are the components of CNN architecture. I do not know how to communicate with the admin people. I do not know whether I am audible or so each and every time I have to go for the chat session. My screen is visible. I have moved to the next screen. My screen is visible. So I am assuming that.
Ma'am, you are audible, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we can see your screen. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Okay, so these are the components of CNN architecture. So we are having all these layers: convolutional layer, pooling or downsampling layer, flattening layer, and fully connected layer. And so the fundamental data structure of CNN is the layers. The first and foremost is the basic layer is the convolution layer, and this is the backbone of the convolutional neural network, and this is where all the learning process happens, right? In only in convolutional layer everything is happening. So this is a data processing module that takes as input one or more tensors, right? And that outputs one or more tensors, right? So this is tensor is nothing but the data stored in multidimensional array are called tensors. Okay, so the different layers are appropriate for different tensor formats and different types of data processing, right? So image data normally yeah, I am considering the image data, right? So normally the image data are stored in 4D tensors, right? So it is usually processed by 2D convolutional layers, right? So in a CNN model, it is actually a stack of convolutional layer. A CNN model in general, it consists of a stack of convolutional layer. It can have any number of convolutional layer based on your data and based on your complexity of the problem. You can have as many convolutional layer, but if you are adding more convolutional layer, more number of layers, then that requires more amount of data, right? So in general, the convolutional neural network requires much amount of data. Huge amount of data is normally required for training any CNN model. So a CNN model, it consists of a stack of convolutional layers, pooling layers, flattening layers, fully connected layer, and a softmax layer. And these convolution layers are the major building blocks used in convolutional neural networks. And normally this convolution layer takes as input tensors, right? So what is a tensor? It is nothing but a multi-dimensional array, right? So here everything will be in terms of numbers. Okay, so this convolution layer takes as input tensors of shape, image. So we are considering image data. So image height and width and image channels. Say for example, if you are using color images, so number of channels will be 3 for RGB channels, right? RGB channels. So it will take as input the image height and width and the number of channels. Say for example, if your image is of size 150 cross 150, so and if it is a color image, then the input the input to the convolution layer will be 150 cross 150 cross 3, right? 3 is the for channel, the 3 channels RGB channel. So and in this convolution layer only only in this convolution layer the learning process will take place, and this will be done via the convolution operation, and this is a simple application of a filter, right? So we'll be applying a filter. You might have learned about filter in your basic digital image processing class, right? I hope all of you are having a basic idea about what about the filters and the operations on filter. So it is only the convolution layer is processing the images only based on the filter operations, right? So this is convolution is nothing but application of the filter to the input, right? So that will result in an activation map or activation function, whatever it is, right? So the repeated application of same filter to the input result in a map of activations, and we call it as a feature map, right? So if you are applying one single filter, then that will learn only one single pattern, right? So if you are going for application of, if you are going for, please excuse me for a moment. Sorry for the disturbance. Am I audible? So let us continue. So we are going for the convolution operation. So this convolution is a simple application of a filter, and if you are applying one single filter, that will learn one pattern, right? So if you are for learning all the patterns in the images, we require successive applications of more number of filters. This is what is happening in case of convolution layer. Well, I will be discussing more on how this convolution operation is carried out on convolution layer. And so here we are, this convolution layer will produce the feature map. Okay, so this feature map, the problem with this feature map is it is sensitive to the location of the features in the input. Okay, so actually this convolution layer is responsible for learning the components in the images, in all the images. So and this feature map is actually sensitive to the location of the feature in the images. So what happens here, suppose if we want to perform some rotation or translation, something like this, these operations has to be carried out in case of images, means then this will affect the entire process, right? Entire classification process. So this should not be there. This kind of disadvantage should not be there. So we are going for the downsampling or pooling operation. Okay, so that is the next layer, next immediate layer after the convolution operation, after the convolution layer. So this pooling layer, this provide an approach for downsampling the feature maps, right? By summarizing the presence of features in patches of the feature map. Okay, and also this pooling layer, this will reduce the number of weights and prevents overfitting, right? So I'll be discussing in detail about this also in detail. And normal pooling operations are max pooling, min pooling, average pooling. Okay. So now we have performed the learning, and we have prevented overfitting also by downsampling the number of features using the pooling layer. Right. Now next step is to go for the actual neural network, and that will be done by flattening layers. Okay, so see here why we require flattening layer here, right? Okay, so see here what we did in case of convolution layer is that we are giving the raw data as such. Okay, so the raw data is two-dimensional data. Okay, so the actual neural network can process 1D data. Okay, so we have to convert this 2D data to one-dimensional data. So that will be done in case of flattening layer. Simply, we will be converting all the 2D information by means of 1D array in terms of 1D array, right? So that is the purpose of our flattening layer. So so it is very simple, right? So it is very simple. Simply rewrite all our 2D information as a 1D array. That is what is happening in case of flattening layer. And then you can add a few dense layer or the fully connected layer to make it as a full neural network, right? So this is the original neural network procedure is coming into picture only in this fully connected layer. Now next one is the softmax layer. This is responsible for the actual computation of the classification problem. So this allows the neural network to run a multi-class function. So if you are having a two-class problem, then we need not have to go for softmax function, and you can go for sigmoid function or any other function. Softmax function is normally used for multi-class classification problem, and this assigns decimal probabilities to each class in a multi-class problem, and this amounts to all the probabilities amounts to 1, right? Let me move to the next slide. I hope this slide is visible. Convolutional layer, right? Is this visible? All right. So convolutional layer. So this is where all the learning process takes place. So the objective of this convolution operation is to extract high-level features such as edges, textures, etc. Right. So here I have shown one simple example. Now actually, I hope my mouse pointer is visible to all of you. Right. My mouse pointer. This is my actual image. Right. My actual image, and it is shown as 6x6, right? 6x6. This is my actual image, right? And this I have padded. We call this as padding. I'll come to this part later, a bit later. And my actual image is 6x6, and this is my filter. Right, this is my filter, and this is the feature map, obtained feature map after convolving this image with the filter. This is the feature map, right? Now let me explain what is happening in this convolutional layer. And this is simply the convolution. We are performing actually a convolution operation, and this convolution is a mathematical operation on two functions, right? So two functions in the sense, let us assume our input image as a function and our filter as a function, right? So we are convolving these two functions together. Somebody has raised their hand. Yes, ask me. What is your query? Sudandra Raja. Please unmute your microphone and ask me. Am I audible? Okay, so convolution operation is convolving these two functions together. Yes, please ask me. Unmute your audio. You can ask me, or you can ask me towards the end of my lecture. Okay, we are convolving these two arrays. So this is two-dimensional array, and this is another two-dimensional array. We are convolving these two functions together to produce the feature map, right? So here, in this feature map, actually we require input data and the filter, right? So for this convolution operation to happen, we require the understanding of some more terms, right? The first some more terms, we call those terms as depth, stride, and padding, right? So what do you mean by depth, right? So depth corresponds to the number of filters, okay? The number of filters used for convolution operation. As I have already stated, if you are applying one single filter, that will learn one single pattern from your image, right? But the image consists of multiple number of patterns, right? Suppose, say for example, if you are applying one filter for learning plus symbols, then another filter is required for learning minus symbols. And similarly, another filter is required for learning multiplication symbols, and so on, right? So for learning each and every pattern present in an image, we require application of more number of filters, right? And so, say for example, if you are applying 64 filters, then each and every filter will produce a feature map, right? So by application of this one single filter will produce a feature map, and applying another filter will produce another feature map, and so on. Okay. So we'll be having a stack of feature maps, right? So application of 64 numbers will produce 64 feature map, and we have to stack all these feature maps together, right? So this is called depth, right? So depth is one important factor for performing the convolution operation. And stride, right? What do you mean by stride? See, for example, see here we are performing convolution operation, and this convolution operation is performed on this image, and this is our filter. I will be placing this filter on this leftmost top corner. I have shown that in yellow color, right? On this, see here, leftmost top corner, I'm going to place this filter. Okay. Now so I'll be convolving by placing this filter on this leftmost top corner, shown as a yellow color, shown in yellow, right? The boundary is shown as shown in yellow color. Now I'll be moving my filter once that is done. So by application of this will produce the number 7. Okay, I'll come to that how I am getting number 7 here. Now I can move this filter to 1 pixel. This is 1 pixel, right? So I'll be moving to another pixel, right? So that is shown in blue color, right? So blue color I'll be convolving in this position, and now I'll be getting number 1, right? So here also I have shown in blue color, right? Now I can move it to one more pixel, right? I have shown in pink color, right? So that will be, so the output of that convolution operation will be -5 in the feature map, right? So this is how this convolution operation happens. Yes, convolution operation is computed. Convolution operation happens. Okay, so this is what is called as stride, right? Moving of the filter on the images, right? 1 pixel by pixel. This is stride 1, right? This is stride 1. Suppose if you are moving 2 pixels, then that is stride 2, and so on, right? So this is our feature map. So for convolution operation, we require all these 3 factors. One is depth, then stride, and then next one is padding, right? So padding. So what is padding? This is what is padding. I am using zeros. So the original image size is 6 cross 6, right? This is my original image size, and by using the filter here, I may not be getting the same size of the image as the feature map, right? See here, if I am using 6 cross 6, right, I will be getting a lesser size of feature map, right? But if you want to have the same size as the feature map, same size as the feature map, then you can go for padding. Normally for 3 cross 3 filter, you will require 1 padding 1, and if you are using 5 cross 5 filter, then the padding will be 2, right? So if you are going for padding 2, then we have to keep we have to add one more 0, right, around this, right? Around this we have to add another layer of zeros, right? So this is what padding. So what is the main purpose of padding? To get the same size as that of the input, right? The feature map should be of the same size as the input image, right? So for that purpose we are using padding, right? So we discussed 3 different terms. One is depth. Depth is nothing but application of various number of filters, right, for learning various patterns present in the image. That is what our depth is. And striding is how many pixels you are moving moving your filter, right, to how many pixels, right? So if it is, so normally we'll move the filters to 1 pixel, or if you can move it to 2 pixels also, right? Then that will be, the stride will be 2. And padding is, if you want to get the same size of the feature map, the size of the feature map, if you want to have the size of the feature map same as that of your input image, then we can go for padding. Okay, now computing the feature map, right? Computing the feature map. How to compute the feature map? So computing the feature map, see here I am having the filter like this. So I am placing this filter here, right, shown as the yellow color. So what happens here? I'll be multiplying all these numbers with the filters. So this is what is normally done in case of our filter operations in digital image processing. So all of you would have been familiar with that. All of you would have been familiar with that. So what happens here? Let me compute that. So see here, in this topmost row, I am having all zeros. So I'll be multiplying 0 with -1, 0 with 3, and 0 with 2. So which amounts to 0 again. So that is 0. Then 0 with -2, that will become 0 again. And 2 with -2, right? 2 and -1, which gives you -2. And 3 and -2, which gives you -6, right? So by multiplying this second row with the second row of the filter will produce minus 8, right? 2 into minus 1 minus 2, 3 into minus 2 minus 6, minus 2 minus 6 amounts to minus 8, right? Now coming to the third row 0. So 6 into 3, right? 6 into 3, 18, and 3 into minus 1 minus 3, right? So by multiplying the first row with the first row of the filter will give you 0, and second row with second row will give you minus 8, and third row with third row will give you minus 18, 18 minus 3, right? So which amounts to 7. Okay. So this is how this convolution operation is performed in convolution layer, right? Any doubt in this? So this is here I have given you the formula for computing the feature map size, right? So this is the size of the feature map. The feature map size is 6 cross 6, right? Now the feature map size can be computed like this. I is the size of the image, right? Input image. So it is 6 cross 6, right? So it is 6. I is 6 minus F. F is the filter size, right? So F is what? F is 3, right? Plus 2 into P, right? 2 into P is padding. Padding, it is 1, right? So 6 minus 3 plus padding is 1. 6 minus 3 plus 1. And stride is 1 plus 1, right? 6 minus 3 plus 2. 6 minus 3, 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 1, 6, right? So the feature map size is 6 cross 6, right? So feature map size, so this gives you 6. So the size of the feature map is 6 cross 6. Okay. Any doubt in this convolution layer? Shall I proceed? Yeah. Please ask. Kanaga Sabhabati Natarajan. Yes? Francisco. Yes, you can ask. All right. Let me move to the next slide. So I hope, so this will give you the clear idea of the convolution operation. See here, I am having, so this is the filter, red colored filter will produce a feature map. Okay. I am using another filter, green colored filter, and that will produce another feature map. Okay. So here I have shown only for applying two filters. One filter, by applying one filter over the entire image will produce a feature map, right? And another, by applying another filter will produce another feature map. Red color filter will produce one feature map, and the green color filter will produce another feature map. Everything will be stacked, right? Stacked like this, right? Which will produce a stack of feature map. This is what is happening in convolution layer, and this is performed by convolution operation. Okay. I hope my screen is visible to you. Okay, let us move to the next slide, ReLU activation function. So this is the next step of convolution layer, and this is your activation function. Here I am using ReLU activation function. So ReLU, see, activation functions are normally inserted in after convolution layer, and this is mainly for introducing non-linearity. For learning purpose, we require non-linearity, and this is the activation function is introduced to for non-linearity, to introduce non-linearity in the network, right? So this by introducing activation function, this makes it easy for the model to generalize and adopt with a variety of data and to differentiate between the outputs, right? So otherwise, if you are not introducing any activation function, this will become just a linear regression model. Your network will be a linear model, right? So it should adapt to any kind of information that is provided to the network. So that is why we are using the activation functions, right? So here I have taken plenty of activation functions are there. So here I have taken ReLU activation function. It seems to be successful in almost any type of problem, right? So this is the activation function, ReLU activation function. As it says, I have given the ReLU activation function here. So here it is 0, right? So the output of this activation function will be 0 if your input value is less than or equal to 0, right? Otherwise, it will be it will remain as such, right? So that is what is given here, right? Y equal to maximum of 0, x, right? If it is less than 0, then that will be taken as 0. Otherwise, it will remain as such, right? So I have given an example here also. See, 7 and 1, it is greater than 0, so it remains as such. And if it is negative, if it is less than 0, then that will be taken as 0, right? So this is what will be the output of the ReLU activation function. Okay. So here this ReLU activation function it provides a much faster computing rate that may be a reason for its popularity. And moreover, how to choose a ReLU activation function? There are plenty of functions like sigmoid function, tanh function, everything is there. But when to choose what function, right? So if you are not aware of the kind of problem in your hand, right? So generally, you can go for ReLU activation function. Okay. So if you are going for binary classification problem, then sigmoid function is a very natural choice for the output layer, right? So this is how we can choose the activation functions, right? So activation function is also important. That will be inserted after your convolution layer, and this is introduced in your network layer mainly for introducing the non-linearity, right? Now next comes the pooling layer. So as we have already discussed in the introduction part, this pooling layer is mainly for downsampling the features, right? And this will also avoid overfitting. Okay. So see for the limit, what is the limitation of the feature map that has been produced by convolution layer is that they record the precise position of the features. That means they are sensitive to the position of the features, right? So that has to be removed, right? So this pooling layer does two jobs. One is that will be eliminated, the precise position of the feature, right? The extra sensitivity of convolution layer will be removed by introducing the pooling layer, and moreover, it is responsible for the overfitting, right? So it is normally the pooling layer will be inserted after your activation layer, right? So normally, what will be the order of the layers in your CNN model? So normally input image, next comes your convolution layer, next comes the activation function, right? And next comes the pooling layer. Okay. But normally in your network, this activation layer will not be shown in general normally. So this pooling layer, this operates upon each feature map separately to create new set of same number of pooled feature maps, right? So see here I have shown one example with max pooling function. So we are having max pooling, min pooling, and average pooling. And in this example, I have shown max pooling. See, the input array is of size 6 cross 6, right? And see the feature map, the final feature map. It is 3 cross 3, right? It has been reduced to half, right? Now let us see how this is happening. See here, we are having a stride of 2, right? The filter way, the stride of 2. So here 7 1 for this right? 2 by 2 for this region 7 1 3 1 0. Max pooling, we choose the maximum value, right? So 7. Now here 26 and here 22 and so on, right? So now finally we are getting a feature map of size 3 cross 3, and you see here it is common to periodically insert a pooling layer in between the successive convolution layer, right? So normally, if you are having two convolution layer, in general, a pooling layer will be inserted in between these two convolution layers, right? And this is for controlling overfitting. And the most common form is a pooling layer with filters of size 2 cross 2 applied with a stride of 2. And this downsamples every depth slice in the input by 2 along both the width and height of the image, right? So, and the depth dimension. Depth in the sense, what do you mean by depth? The number of filters, right? So, since it is this pooling layer is taking care of each and every depth size, the depth size remains unchanged. Only the feature map size will be altered, right? Because it will be reduced to half the size. If you are going for a stride of 2. Now, this is a simple example of a convolution layer. Now, I'll be taking some time in explaining this convolution network. So, let us see what happens in this convolution network. And this is for classifying purpose. And we are having finally 3 classes. So, see in this figure, we are in this network, we are having 2 convolution layer and 2 max pooling layer, and the input image is of size 150 cross 150 cross 3, right? As I have already stated, this 3 is for number of channels. Since our input image is a color image, for RGB channel we are using 3, right? So the input image is of size 150 cross 150 cross 3, right? So input image size is this much. So this will be fed to the convolution layer. Now what happens here in the convolution layer? So what is the output size, output image size of this convolution layer to compute the image size in the convolution layer? So convolution layer image size, the output size is calculated like this: image size minus filter size plus bias, right? Image size minus filter size plus bias. Now here I have given here that the filter size is of 3 cross 3, right? So 150 minus 3 plus 1, which amounts to 148, right? So the output, so for the output image, the output shape will be 148 cross 148, right? Plus 3, right? So this will be given to the convolution layer. So now the number of parameters. So number of see here, see 64, 148 cross 148 cross 64, right? See here actually the input image, these 3, I hope my mouse pointer is visible to you. These 3 actually amounts to the number of channels, and see here this 64 is actually the number of filters that I am going to apply on this input image, right? 64 is number of filters, right? So actually this is a feature map, right? This is a feature map. So this feature map is obtained by application of one single filter, right? Convolving the filter with the input image, right? Convolving one filter with the input image will produce a feature map, right? So this square corresponds to one feature map, and the next square behind this corresponds to another feature map produced by application of another filter. Okay, I hope this is clear, right? So all these squares actually I have shown a stack of squares, and you might have seen the similar type of network in almost all the materials what you have while studying the convolutional neural network. Actually all these squares actually corresponds to application of our convolution operation that has been done by convolving the filter in the input image, right? One single filter with the input image. So if I am using 64 filters, then there will be 64 squares. Actually, what does it mean? I am having 64 feature maps, right? So that is a meaning, right? So 148 cross 148 cross 64. I am having 64 feature maps here, right? Now let us compute the parameters, number of parameters. I have shown the number of parameters, the computable parameters. See here, this convolution operation, convolution layer is responsible for learning, right? learning. Learning happens only in convolution layer. So convolution layer is what? It is nothing but that parameters, number of parameters. What will be the number of parameters or the weights, right? Now let us see how many parameters it has learned. The convolution layer, this convolution layer has learned, right? So you see we are having 64 filters. Now see here, as I have already stated in the previous slide also, see three here in this first convolution layer, this 3 corresponds to this 3. What is this 3? This 3 is nothing but the number of channels. Only in this first convolution layer, we will consider the number of channels in the input image, right? See, only for this first convolution layer, we are feeding the input to the convolution layer. For the rest of the remaining convolution layer, the output from the previous layer will be taken as input, right? So that is why we are using this 3, right? So this 3 is nothing but the number of channels here. So 3 multiplied by, this is the filter, right? 3 cross 3 is the filter and 1 is the bias, right? So 3 is the number of channel and 3 cross 3 is the filter size and 1 is the bias, right? And this is for, I hope you can see my mouse pointer, and this is for one single filter, right? One single filter in the sense for computing is square, right? So this square is the feature map, right? So for computing this one single filter, but we are using 64 filters, so multiply that by 64, right? That amounts to 1792, right? So total number of trainable parameters for this convolution layer 1 is 1792, right? I hope this is clear. Any doubt? Any doubt? Any doubt? Is this clear? Okay, ma'am. Explain that formula again. What formula? What formula you are asking for? How do we determine the value of filter? See, the value of filter you can fix on your own, right? See, I think somebody is asking for the formula. I think you are asking for this one. This formula you are asking. I hope you are asking for this formula. See here, I minus F plus 2P. This is padding, right? This is padding and S is stride. F is the filter size, I is the image size, F is the filter size, P is the padding, and S is stride. Stride is to how many pixels you are moving. I is the image size. Here, the image size, what we have considered here is 6 cross 6, right? Only after padding, we are getting 8 cross 8, right? So initially, the image size is 6 cross 6. So I is 6, right? 6 minus filter size is 3, right? So 6 minus 3, right? And padding, we are using padding here. So padding is 1. So 2 into 1 will be 2, right? So 6 minus 3, which is 3, plus 2 is 5, right? And stride is 1. We are moving 1 pixel, right? So 6 minus 3, 3, plus 2 is 5. So 5 divided by 1 is 5, plus 1, right? 1 is bias, right? Which will be 6. So the feature map size will be 6, right? So it will be 6 cross 6. Okay. How do we determine the value of the filter? Okay. All right. So value of the filter. See, there is no fixed rule that this has to be the size of the filter and this has to be the amount of filters, everything, right? See, in CNN, you are free to fix the number of filters, the size of the filters, how many number of layers, how many number of max pooling, everything you can decide on your own, right? Whichever network gives you the correct results, you can freeze that model, right? You are free to fix the size of the filter, right? You need not have to decide that this has to be the size of the filter, right? See, for example purpose, I have taken 3 cross 3 as the size of the filter. Okay. So, is there any other doubt up to this? So this kind of the parameter calculation will be somewhat difficult to understand. If you are having any doubt, please ask me at this moment itself. Any doubt? All right. So I hope this for first convolution layer we are doing the parameter calculations like this, right? Now the output of this filter. Yes, Kanaga Sambhabadi Natarajan. What's your query? Please ask your query in the chat box. All right. So the output of the convolution layer will be fed to the max pooling layer. Okay. So as we have discussed in the introduction part, this is the main aim of the max pooling layer is to downsample the features, right? So so here I am the max pooling layer. Here I have shown the max pooling. The size is 2 cross 2, right? So your the feature map size will be reduced to half, right? This is what we discussed in the introduction part. So 148 divided by 2, that will give you 74, right? 74 cross 74, right? We are using max pooling, right? So 74 cross 74, and as we have already stated, the depth value remains as such, right? There will, because it will be the max pooling, the downsampling will be done for every depth slice, right? Every depth slice the max pooling will be done. So, there will not be any change, right? Only the size of the feature map will be taken care of by the downsampling layer, right? Now, the output from this max pooling layer is again fed to another convolution layer here, right? Now, again, the output feature size will be recomputed in the same way as we did in case of our here in this case, right? So now 70, which gives you 72. The input is 74 minus the filter size plus 1, right? 74 minus 3, 71 plus 1 bias will give you 72, right? 72. Now see here I am using 32. The number of filters I am using is 32. See here also you are free to fix any number of filters, right? Here I am using 64, right? In case of convolution layer, I am using 64. You cannot make any changes in case of max pooling because the depth size, the depth information remains as such. Only the size of the feature map will be reduced to half in case of pooling layer, and we can make changes only in case of convolution layer because this is where all the learning happens. See here in case of max pooling layer, no learning is performed by max pooling layer, and this is responsible only for downsampling your information. Okay, so that is why we are not performing any parameters. So there are no learnable parameters in case of max pooling layer, right? Now coming to the next convolution layer, 72 cross 72, and we are here. I am fixing 32. It is up to you to fix the number of filters, right? I am fixing 32 here. Now let us see what happens to the number of trainable parameters. So here 64 is number of filters in the previous layer, right? What is the number of filters here? 64 is the number of filters in the previous layer. See, for convolution layer 1, we had only 3 channels, right? These 3 channels are taken care of because see only here we are feeding the input, right? So that is why we have taken this number of channels 3 here. But for the next layer, we are not feeding any input manually, right? Output of the previous convolution layer will be fed as input to the next convolution layer. So the number of filters in the previous layer is 64, and size of filter is 3 cross 3 and plus 1 bias, right? And this is for one single filter, right? One single filter in the sense I have shown this as one square here. This is for one single filter, and so we have to compute for 32 features for this convolution layer, right? So this is 32, right? Multiplied by 32. So which amounts to 18,464, right? So this is the number of learnable parameters for this layer. Okay. Now we are inserting one more max pooling layer, so which will reduce your feature size. So the 72 divided by 2 will give you 36, right? 36 cross 36, and the depth information is the number of filters is 32. It remains as such, 32, right? Now next comes our flattening layer, right? Flattening layer. So multiplication of all this will give you 41,472, right? So simply, so this is in terms of 2 dimension, right? Simply we have to straighten all the values. We have to make it as 1 dimension, right? So 41,472, simply 1 dimensional layer, and this is our flattening layer. And next comes our fully connected layer. Here also, for this fully connected layer, the number of neurons you can fix on your own, right? So here the number of neurons in this flattening layer is systematically reduced, okay, using one or more dense layers, so that the number of neurons in the output layer is equal to the number of classes. This is how we can fix the number of neurons in our fully connected layer, right? So here actually after this max pooling layer, we are having the flattening layer. We cannot reduce this number of neurons here, and this has to be reduced to the number of output classes, right? Yes, Madhubala, what's your query? Yeah. See, for CNN is applicable to not only to image data, you can apply CNN to any numerical data or any kind of data. You can give the raw data as such. That is the main advantage of CNN. See, here I have taken the example with the input data as the images, as image, right? 2-dimensional data. You can give even 1-dimensional data. 1D CNN is also applicable. You can use any numerical data or any kind of data can be fed to the CNN. Okay, so here for reducing the number of neurons in the flattened layer, and this will be systematically reduced using one or more dense layers, right? Fully connected layers. So in such a way that the number of neurons in the output layer is equal to the number of classes. Here we are having number of classes as 3, right? Now I am fixing this as 768, right? Now let us see what happens. So this is also responsible for learning. So let us see what happens. Let us see what is the number of parameters, trainable parameters here. So here 768, and now the flattening layer is having this much, and 1 is the bias, right? 1 is the bias, and 768 is the number of neurons in the fully connected layer. So this much we are getting as the trainable parameters. Okay. Now coming to the next fully connected layer. Now here also learning happens. So here 384 is the number of neurons here, and 768 is in the previous layer, and plus one is the bias, and this is for 384 neurons, right? So this much is the learnable parameters. And now finally here what happens here, right? So 3 is the number of classes. So we are having 3 neurons here, and 384 is the previous layer, and 1 is the bias, right? So 1155, right? This much is the number of learnable parameters. So total trainable parameters is the summation of all the red colored digits, right? So this much is the number of learnable or trainable parameters. The number of parameters learned out of this CNN model, what is shown here, right? Is this clear? So this is how we will model a 2D CNN. Any doubt up to this? Is this clear? The computation of the parameters, everything. So see here, the number of filters you can fix on your own, the number of the filter size you can fix on your own, right? You can fix the number of layers, convolution layers. You can fix the number of max pooling layers, and you can either use 2 consecutive or 3 consecutive convolution layer, and then you can go for max pooling layer, whatever it is, right? You are free to change the structure or the architecture of your neural network, right? So whichever architecture gives you good results, you can freeze that architecture. So you are free to use the architecture, neural network architecture, right? So that is why it is gaining popularity, and moreover, the feature extraction procedure is not there. In case of machine learning, we have to perform the feature extraction procedure. So that itself is a very daunting task. The feature extraction itself is a daunting task, and that gets eliminated in case of your CNN, because we are giving the raw data as such to the network, right? It learns on your own everything. It learns the patterns through filters, right? So that is the main advantage of this deep learning networks over the machine learning algorithms. Okay. Shall I proceed? All right. Let me move to the next slide. So here I have taken on AlexNet architecture. This is the pre-trained model. This architecture is a pre-trained model. Let me explain this so that you will be able to understand how this CNN architecture works. So this AlexNet is a pre-trained model, and other networks are, I hope all of you are familiar with other networks also, GoogleNet, VGG, 16, everything is there. And this AlexNet architecture, this is having 16 million parameters, right? And it has 8 layers, and first 5 layers are convolution layer, and last 3 are fully connected layers, right? And it actually took 5 to 6 days to train on 2 GTX 580 3GB GPUs, right? So this is the architecture of the convolution AlexNet layer. So see here, this is the input image of size 227 cross 227, and the filter size is 11 cross 11. Right now, let us see what happens in the computation. So output shape, what would be the output shape? So output shape is computed like this. So as we have already seen, I minus F plus 2 into padding, 2 into P divided by stride, right? Plus 1 bias, right? So see here, no padding is there. So here 227 input image size 227 minus filter size is 11, and here we are having stride, right? So since there is no padding, 2 into 0 will give you 0, right? 227 minus 11, and 4 is the stride, right? And so divided by 4 plus 1 bias will give you 55, right? So now the convolution layer is having 55 cross 55, and see here number of kernels. So filters, we can call the filters as kernels. So it is 96. So 55 cross 55, and number of filters is 96, right? So 55 cross 55 cross 96, right? Now max pooling. So max pooling, it will divide this into 2. Divide into 2. So 27 cross 27, and depth size remains as such, right? So depth size remains as such. Now see here another convolution layer. So here it will be 20. So it remains max pooling, actually down samples. So see here convolution 2. So number of filters is 256. The filter size is 5 cross 5. We are using padding 2 and stride 1, right? And 256 kernels, right? So which becomes 27. So this minus 5 is for number of filter size, and 2 cross 2 is padding, right? So 2 cross 2 padding, and the stride is 1, and plus 1 bias will give you 27. Right? So see here we are not actually keeping this 27 here. After this computation, we are getting 27 here again, right? And for this convolution layer, we are using 256 kernels, right? Then downsampling will give you 13 cross 30, and 256 is the number of filters or kernels. Now next convolution. So next convolution layer. So see here padding 1 and 3 is the number of filters. So 13 plus 2 into 2 star 1 padding is 1 minus 3 will give you 13 again. So 13 and 384 is the number of filters. Okay. So now again we are having another convolution here. So here again we are having the computation will give you 13 padding 1 and with 384 kernels. And here convolution will give you 256 for 256 kernels with 3 cross 3 filters, and padding is 1, right? And overlapping max pooling layer. Max pooling layer will give you half the amount. Okay, so the kernels, number of kernels will remain as such. So 6 cross 6 and 256. And here we are having 2 fully connected layers and softmax. So multi-class problem. So 1000 images, right? So we are having 1000 images, and so we are using softmax multi-class. Since it is a multi-class problem, we are using the softmax layer. So with this, any doubt up to this? Any doubt? So let me move to the implementation in Keras. PCNN implementation in Keras. So why Keras? Why we are going for Keras? So this actually Python, Keras is the Python library, and this is a deep learning API written in Python running on top of the machine learning platform TensorFlow, right? So it was developed with a focus on enabling fast experimentation. So why it is so, right? Why use Keras rather than any other libraries? This Keras actually prioritizes developer experience, and it has broad adoption in the industry and the research community, and it makes it easy to turn models into products. So that is why Keras is gaining much popularity rather than other libraries in Python. So for implementing in Keras, I have taken CIFAR-10 dataset. CIFAR-10 dataset. And here this is actually an image classification problem. I have taken image classification problem. So what is it actually? So here I have used Jupyter through Anaconda Navigator for the implementation of this project. So here, what is image classification? So image classification pipeline can be summarized like this. So one input is a training data set. Our input is a training data set that contains n images, each labeled with one of k different classes. We are having k different classes. So our problem in hand is the classification problem. Then we have to use this training set to train a classifier to learn what every one of the classes looks like. Okay, so this is our aim. So towards end, we evaluate the quality of the classifier, what we have trained, by asking it to predict the labels for a new set of images. New set of images in the sense, the testing images that it has never seen before. Testing images are new set of images, right? So then only we can accurately predict whether our classifier is working fine or not. Then we will then compare the true labels of these images to the ones predicted by the classifier, right? So we'll be having actual predictions of these test data. We'll be comparing our classifier with that of our predicted classifiers results. Okay, so so this is I have shown the pipeline, the Keras workflow on this screen. I hope the screen is visible to you. So first one is we have to define our training data, right? So the input tensors and the target sensors, that is what the formation of the data set is. Then the next comes, we have to define a network of layers, right? network of layers, which is nothing but our 2D CNN model. We have to create the network of layers. That is what our 2D CNN model is. And this is where the model will map our inputs to our targets, right? Then the next step is to configure the learning process by choosing a loss function, an optimizer, and some metrics to monitor, right? So this is what is compiling the model. Then next, we have to iterate the training data by calling the fit method, right? So this is what is training and validation, right? So here we are validating our trained model. Then finally, go for testing the model, right? So see here, I have taken the CIFAR 10 data set. This is easily available, and in this data set we are having 10 classes, right? Airplane, automobile, bird, etc. So this is actually CIFAR 10 data set is Canadian Institute for Advanced Research Dataset. This is a collection of images that are commonly used to train machine learning and computer vision algorithms. Okay, so this actually consists of 60,000 images, right? 60,000 images, color images of size 32 cross 32, right? So these are the classes. I have shown the classes here, 10 classes. So airplane, automobile, etc. with 6,000 images per class, right? So this dataset consists of 60,000 images. Each class consists of 6,000 images, right, per class, and each of size 32 cross 32, right? So now here we should have training set and test set. So training data, training images, 50,000 training images and 10,000 test images. Okay. So that means what? The data set we are for building the model, the data set is divided into 5 training batches. Okay, 5 training batches. So initially we are having 50,000 training images. We are dividing them into 5 training batches and 1 test batch, each with 10,000 images. The test batch contains exactly 1,000 randomly selected images, okay, from each class. So we are having 10 classes. So 1,000 into 10 will give you 10,000 test images, right? And the training batches contain the remaining images in random order. Okay. So this is all about our CIFAR 10 data set. This is easily downloadable form. So Keras, it will be automatically downloaded. You can automatically download in Keras. The CIFAR 10 data set is available in Keras. You can automatically download. See, this is what the network I have used for training, right? Training the CIFAR 10 data set, and this is different from the network what I have discussed earlier, right? So if you are able to understand this, then you can use any architecture, you can change the architecture in such a way that the architecture fits your own data. Okay. So as I have already stated, the input image is the color image, so it will be having 3 channels, and the size of the input image is 32 cross 32, and the channel is 3, right? Number of channel is 3. So the number in first convolution layer, I am using 2 consecutive convolution layer here and 1 max pooling layer. See, in the earlier case, I have used 1 convolution layer and I have inserted max pooling layer in between the 2 convolution layers, right? But here I am using 2 consecutive convolution layers. So like this, you can change the architecture, right? If you are going to change the architecture, you can change the size of the filter, the number of filters also you can change. If you are able to get more accuracy than my architecture for the same CIFAR 10 data set, then you can make use of your own architecture for training the model. Okay, so for my purpose, I have used this architecture. So let us compute the trainable parameters. So I have used 3 cross 3 filter size, and 3 is the channel and 1 is the bias. And for 25 filters. I am computing number of trainable parameters. So the output from this convolution layer will be fed as input to the next convolution layer. So 25 is the number of filters here. So 25, 3 cross 3 is the filter size, 1 is the bias, and 50 is the number of filters in this convolution layer. So I am using 50 here, right? So this is how we can compute the trainable parameters or learnable parameters, right? So and then max pooling. I am going for max pooling here. So which will be the half of the size, right? 32 divided by 2 will give you 16, right? And 50 is the number of filters, right? So 16 cross 16 cross 50 for max pooling. Now third convolution layer. So here is 50 here, 50, 3 cross 3 is the size of the filter, and 1 is the bias. 70 is the number of filters that I am using for this convolution layer, right? So 70 here. So this is the learnable parameters. Then again another max pooling layer I am introducing. Now I am simply flattening here, right? Flattening here, and I am using fully connected layer, and I am computing the parameters the same way as I have computed in the earlier example what I have given in the one of the slides earlier. And here I am having 10 classes, right? So the softmax layer I am using. So 10 is the number of output classes. So 10, there will be 10 neurons here, right? So here using softmax layer, I can identify based on the probability produced by the number produced by the output layer. I can fix what is the input image that is given to the network, right? So this is the layer that I am using for Keras implementation. Now this is the code that I have used for the implementation. So see here, see initially we have to import all the required libraries from Keras documentation. We have to download all the libraries, but I have not shown that part. I will share the complete coding as an HTML file to the organizers. You can get that coding from the organizers. You can make use of the coding for your purpose later. For any of the data, any of your data, you can use that code, right? I'll be sharing the complete code for the classification problem using CIFAR-10 dataset, right? But here only the necessary part, the importing part is very common. So I have not shared that part here. I have started from the loading of the dataset. But I will be sharing that with the organizers, right? You can make use of it. So the CIFAR-10 dataset can easily be downloaded in Keras using can be downloadable, and this data set is 163 megabytes, right? See, actually CIFAR-10 data set, see this is what I will be downloading, right? This line actually will download the data CIFAR-10 data. So it is actually 163 megabytes, so it may take a few minutes to download, right? Now so the data set is stored as training and test sets ready for using Keras, right? So each image is represented as a 3-dimensional matrix with dimensions, width, height, and channel. Channel is RGB channel, right? So the first line, X train, Y train, right? So the training set is a subset of the data set used to train a model, and this X train is the training data set, right? And Y train is the set of labels to all the data in X train, right? X train is the training data set, Y train is a set of labels. Similarly, X test is the testing data set, Y test is the set of labels to all the data in the X test. Okay. So now the next line, two categorical, right? So this is used to convert array of labeled data, right? We are having 10 classes, right? So array of labeled data, that is from 0 to 9 to one hot vector of dimension 1 cross n, right? One hot vector, right? One dimensional vector of 1 cross n, and number of classes, right? Number of classes, obviously it is 10. For CIFAR-10 data set, we are having 10, right? Now, and so similarly we are having for Y train and Y test number labels, right? Y train is for training set and Y test is for testing set. So we'll be having the number of classes as 10, right? And now coming to the next line, xtrain dot as type, right? It is most common to use 32-bit precision when training a neural network. So at one point, the training data will have to be converted to 32-bit floats. Okay. So for that purpose, this line has been introduced here. And division by 0. Why we are doing this? This is for normalization purpose. Okay. And here for during training, only 20% of training data is assigned for validation, right? Validation purpose using the validation speed parameter in the fit method, right? I will be discussing that in the later slide. Now the next line. Next line is print shape of training data and print shape of test data. So this is the output. What we are having. So as we have already discussed, we are having 60,000 images, 50,000 images for training and 10,000 for testing, right? For training data, so shape of training data, print xtrained on shape, right? Shape has to be printed. So 50,000 is the amount of training data. Shape is 32 cross 32 and 3 is the number of channel, right? And similarly, print Y train. Y train is what? Y train is labels, right? So 50,000 images and labels, 10 labels, 10 classes are there, right? And the shape of this data, xtest.shape, right? So 10,000 images we are having, and the shape is 32 cross 32, and 3 is the number of channel, and 10,000 and 10 classes, right? So this is all about the first about this part of the coding, and the next one is model architecture, right? So the focus of Keras is creation of model. This is very important. This is where we are going to create our architecture, the model architecture. Everything will be done only in this part of the code. The main type of the model is the sequential model. Okay. Sequential model, which is nothing but the linear stack of layers. So we create a sequence and add layers to it in the order that we wish for the computation to be performed. Say for example, see here in this for this Simpleton data set, I am using 2 convolution layer consecutively, but in the earlier example, I used 1 convolution layer and then next max pooling and another convolution, another max pooling, and so on, right? So it is up to you to fix the order of the layers, how to stack the layers, right? See here, the first line is sequential, right? So what does it mean actually? So a sequential model, this is appropriate for a plain stack of layers where each layer has exactly 1 input tensor and 1 output tensor, right? It gets exactly 1 input and 1 output, right? So in here tensor, this is what is a tensor? I have already stated that, I have already explained. So this is a way of representing the data in deep learning. Okay. So a tensor can be 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional array. So it is so actually this can be a multi-dimensional array tensor. Okay. So if you are using sequential model, you can implement this using the add method, right? So that is what this next line says, right? We are adding the next layer, next layer, next layer, and so on, right? We are initially defining the sequential model, which is nothing but we are going to build a linear stack of layers, right? So this I have given a comment here also. So here we can add the layers using the add methods, right? So what will happen in this add method? So see here, convolution. I am using convolution 2D layer. I am adding convolution 2D layer, and the 25 is the number of filters, right? So you can check with the actual structure of our layer. See here, I'm using 25. Okay, so 25 is the number of filters. So that is what here 25 is the number of filters, and kernel size 3 cross 3, right? The filter size is 3 cross 3, and stride is 1, and padding same padding. I'll come to that. So what do you mean by same padding? We discussed what is padding is. So same padding. The same padding is we want to get the feature map same as that of the input size, right? So that is what the same padding means. So one more padding is also available, which is called valid padding. So this is the easiest case where no padding is applied, right? So in that case, if you are going for valid padding, then the output feature map will not be of the same size as that of your input image, right? So now here we are going for padding, so that is why we are using same here, and activation function is relu, right? And input shape 32 cross 32 cross 3, right? See here, see we are using convolution, more number of convolution layers here. Only in the first convolution layer I am giving the input shape. Why is it so? Because only in the first convolution layer we are feeding the input. The rest of all the layers will get the input from the previous layers, right? That is why only in the first convolution layer we are giving the input shape here, right? So now we are adding one more convolution layer. Here we are having 50 as the number of kernels. Let us check what is the number of filters. See here we are having 50, right? 50 as the number of filters. So we are having same 50 here, and the kernel size 3, stride 1, and the same padding. Activation is relu and max pooling, right? So we are having one. So after 2 convolution layers, we are having max pooling, and see here dropout. So what do you mean by dropout? See here, dropout is to make the network to learn even if some of the information is not given to the layer, right? That is the main purpose of this dropout layer. So this is actually, the term dropout actually refers to dropping out units in a neural network. Okay, so what is it actually? It refers to ignoring units, right? Ignoring units in the sense some neurons during the training phase of certain set of neurons which is chosen at randomly chosen. It will be randomly chosen. So it is only 0.25% will be dropout, right? So it will be randomly chosen while in the training phase. So dropout is a simple way to prevent overfitting in the network, right? So max pooling will also take care of overfitting, and this dropout will also take care of overfitting. Okay, so here it takes a parameter 0.25. Okay, so then the next comes another convolution layer. Here we are having 70 filters. Okay, so there is the remaining information remains as such. Now another max pooling layer has been added, and we are adding one more dropout layer. See, adding dropouts, fixing the parameters, everything is left to you, right? You need not have to introduce the dropouts in every case, but you can try, right? Everything here the results are checked on trial and error basis, right? The number of filters, the kernel size, strides, padding, fixing of activation function, everything is left to you, right? You can fix the parameters on your own, and you can check the performance of the network, and then you can freeze the model whichever is giving you a good performance. Okay, so the next one is dropout. Here also I am using the percentage of 0.25, and next comes the flattening layer, right? Flattening layer, we have already discussed what a flattening layer and what is a purpose of this flattening layer. So the number of neurons in the flattening layers are systematically reduced by adding one or more dense layers. So that is what is happening in the next lines, right? We are adding dense layers here with 500 neurons, and here I am going for another dropout, and one more dense layers 250, another dropout. See here these two lines are optionals. The dropouts are optionals, right? So only for to avoid overfitting we are using dropouts, right? If you are adding less number of data, then this dropout is not important. It is not required actually. If you are having a huge amount of data, then that may lead to overfitting. So in that case, we can go for dropout step. Okay. So then the model summary. Finally, here in this case, we are having the softmax layer, which is for multi-class classification problem. So our C4 data set is having 10 classes. So we require the softmax function here. So that has been introduced here. So now finally model summary. model summary, we print the string of summary of the network. Everything will be printed as a summary, right? So those who have worked with CNN models would be they might be knowing what a summary is, right? So all the parameters, the trainable parameters, everything will be printed as a summary, right? That will be you will be getting as a summary. So while I'll be sharing the entire code, right? You can try with that code, and you'll be able to understand more clear. So the next step, training and validation step. So this is where we are going for the compilation of the model, right? So what is validation? This is the set of examples used to tune the parameters of a classifier, right? So this validation data set is one which you are not directly using to train the network, right? So as we have already discussed in one of the previous slides, 20%, right? So see here during training, 20% of training data is assigned for validation, right? So for validation purpose, some amount of data from the training set will be taken for validation, right? So see here coming to the compilation step. So model.compile. So in the earlier step, we have created the model, right? So in this step, we have created the model. Now going for compilation step. So here we want to train the model and compile, right? So the learning process is configured in the compilation step. So here we will specify the optimizer and loss functions, right? So here the loss function is categorical cross entropy, and I want to keep an eye on this metric, the accuracy, and the optimizer I am using is Adam optimizer. So this optimizer is largely used, right? So other optimizers can also be used like stochastic gradient descent optimizer, RMS prop. These are also widely used, but Adam is giving good performance. So here also a choice is there. Here you can fix any other optimizer, right? Instead of Adam, you can go for some other optimizer and you can check the performance of your model. Okay. Now we can compile the model by this line, right? By using the loss function and optimizer, and I want to keep an eye on this metric, that is accuracy, right? Now coming to the next step, the training the model. Now here the first line, right? Model checkpoint. So the first part of this line, model checkpoint, I am giving the path of I am giving the path. So now so the next, I want to monitor, right? I want to monitor the value accuracy, and the mode is maximum, and I want to save only the best, right? So that is what save best only equal to true means, right? Save best only equal to true. So here model checkpoint, this is the path to save the model. Okay. Now I want to monitor the value accuracy, and the mode is the maximum, and save best. So I have already stated that. Now early stop. What do you mean by early stop? Early stop. So I want to stop it early. So what does it mean, right? So stop the training when a monitored metric has stopped improving, right? So what I am monitoring value accuracy. So if it has stopped improving, then you stop training the model, right? So that is what I am saying in the second step, early stop, right? Early stop, I am monitoring value accuracy, and patience equal to 5. I am fixing the patience. So what do you mean by patience? See, say for example, if I am setting my epochs, number of epochs to 25, right? I am monitoring monitoring the training of the model, right? It keeps on improving, right? Say at particular epoch, say for example 12, right? I am having some accuracy, right? But after at 13, at epoch 13, there is no improvement, right? And 14 also no improvement, 15 no improvement, 16 no improvement, 17 no improvement, right? So patience is 5. It will check for consecutive 5 epochs. If there is no improvement for 5 epochs, then it will stop. The training the model will stop. Why I am doing so? This will avoid unnecessary waiting of the training of the model, right? So that is why I am using early stop here. Okay, I hope you understand. Then call back. So this is this callback. Why I'm using this? This is used to save the Keras model or model weights, right? So that is what this callback is. Then time. This time is used for computation of time consumption. Okay. Then next line is model fit. So this will train the model by slicing the data into batches, right? Batches of size, right? So model fit, X train and Y train. We are using X train model and Y train is the labels, and batch size is 32 and epochs is 50. Verbose equal to 2. So what do you mean by verbose? Verbose can either be 0, 1 or 2. So what is a way how you want to see the output, the training process, right? How you want to see, right? That will be fixed by using this verbose. So 2, if here I am using 2 here, 1 line per epoch. For each and every line, one I'll be seeing the progress of my training process, right? If you are going for 0, nothing you can see, right? And 1 a progress bar you can see, right? So that is what this verbose is. And validation split, it can be it will be between 0 and 1, right? So this is what is this? This is fraction of the training data to be used as validation set, right? So we have already stated that 20% is being used for validation. So that is what is given here. Okay. So now I'm computing the amount of time taken. Okay. So then the next one is printing the time, right? Well, printing the time in seconds. Now I am printing the time in seconds, and see here what we are doing here. So here to summarize. So this is what we will be doing for the model creation and training. So initially we are defining the model, that is create the sequence and add the layers, then compile the model, then fit the model and make the predictions, right? So here I have shown the graphs. Graphs are shown for accuracy and loss functions. Okay. I hope this is clear to you. Now comes the testing part, right? The testing part. Load that. So we have see here we have created the model, we have trained the model, right? So here we will be fixing. So it will be done repeatedly, right? See here we are fixing the patients. The fight will be again and again we will be training the model by varying these parameters. So so we will be fixing the model at one particular point of time if it is showing a good performance, right? So we will be freezing that model, and that model will be used for testing the test data. Okay. So now for that testing purpose, we have to load the trained model, right? So training has been done here. So we'll be saving only the model which is giving a good performance. That model will be trained in the path shown here, right? So this is the path of the model. So see here, I have missed one point. See here, this will be shown in the H5 file, right? So see here, what this Keras also supports a simpler interface to save both the model weights and model architecture together into a single H5 file, right? So H5 file, which is a file format to store structured data. Okay. And this is not a model as such. This is simply a file format to store the model weights and the model architecture together as a single file. Okay. So this is the model. Now we have saved the model. We have saved the trained model. Now we have, for testing purpose, we have to load the trained model, right? So so saving the model actually means we are saving the model weights, model architecture, model compilation details, that is the loss and metrics, everything, and model optimizer, everything will be saved in that H5 file, right? Now testing. Now see here, for simplicity purpose, see actually we are having 1,000 images for 1,000 test images, but for simplicity purpose I have taken only 100 images for testing, and we are having 10 classes, right? So this is the code for loading the trained model. Now this is the code for testing, right? So I'll be testing the for these 10 classes, right? The prediction obtained for 10 classes. So the prediction obtained for 10 classes, only a part I am showing here, right? Only the last screen I am showing here. Actually, you will be getting for 100 classes, right? For sorry, 100 test samples. I have taken only 100 test samples. So for all these 100 test samples, you will be getting the results, right? So see here, this is a feature shape, right? The feature shape, see, I am using only 100, so I am getting 0 to 99, so 1000, 10,000, and this is the shape of the image and result. So 7 is a category number, and class is the horse, right? And this is for 100th image, right? And these are the outputs obtained for 100 samples what I have taken, right? 11 has been classified as airplane, automobile 6, and bird as 8 birds, and so on. Okay, so this is how we will be getting. So see here, final weights. So as a summary, given a new test image, the output is computed using the final weights. Okay. So all the filter coefficients and fully connected layer weights, that is all the trainable parameters, are assumed with small initial random values and gets updated during training. Okay, so the input is applied to the network and the consecutive convolution layer, max pooling layer, and so on. Then output is matched with the target. Error is computed, and error is actually propagated backwards. This is done using backpropagation algorithm, and that itself is a separate topic. Backpropagation algorithm, how this works itself is a separate topic. You can refer to any of the machine learning books, machine learning articles to learn how this backpropagation algorithm works. But in this convolution layer, actually we are propagating the feedback what we have obtained backwards to the network, and this feedback is taken as input for further improvement of the network, right? So this will be taken to update the weights, and this is done for all possible inputs, and this is called one epoch, right? And this network is trained for a number of epochs. You can fix it as 100, 200, or 300, or whatever it is, right? You can fix it, right? So this is what I am getting, right? So with this, we are coming to the end of discussion. So these are the books for reference. So the first book, Cholet, this is easily available. You can download it. So for beginners, you can take this book. See, actually the CIFAR 10 data set, right? They have taken one example. They have discussed one example with CIFAR 10 data set in this book, right? This Francois Cholet. This book is easily downloadable form, and you can check this. You can check this Keras library, right? Python deep learning library, Keras documentation in this website, and the rest of these two websites will also be useful for you to learn about this deep learning and about Python packages. I hope this session will be helpful to you. Any questions you can ask me.
Participant, if you any doubt regarding this session, please kindly put in the chat box. I think there is no question, ma'am. Clearly explanation from your side.
Is it, or they are not able to follow? So we can take in either case.
No, ma'am.
They
No,
are not
ma'am.
able to
All
get
are
anything.
no, ma'am.
Then also there will not be any questions.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Clearly, you teach to the student participant, ma'am.
All right, all right. So if there are no questions, I think we can conclude. I thank the organizers for the opportunity, the nice opportunity given to me to share my thoughts, some of the thoughts regarding the recent topics in deep learning. I hope you'll make use of these contents in your research work, right? I wish all
Thank you,
the
ma'am. Thank
I
you for
wish all the
accepting my
participants.
invitation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank,
Thank you,
thank
ma'am.
you for that.
Ma'am,
Thank
what?
you for the very
Once
good
again, ma'am. I
Thank
now I will call upon Subhashini. Tell about the the validity function.
Now we come to the end of this lively online session. Prior to winding it up, a few words of warmth to all of you. An event of this dimension can't happen overnight and needs meticulous planning and execution and an eye for detail. We have been fortunate enough to have Dr. M. Kalaiselvi Geeta for sharing her valuable thoughts and enlightening us enough. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
am,
Thank you, ma'am.
I am
Thank you
very
for the
grateful to our secretary and correspondent, Dr. P. Chinadurai, and directors for giving us an opportunity to organize this event. I extend my sincere thanks to our dean, Dr. S. Malathi, and an associate professor, Dr. V. Ray Ambedkumar, for their support and guidance. A heartfelt thanks goes out to all the participants for their active participation in this event. Thank you all and have a good day.
1 minute. Somebody is asking Keras or TensorFlow, which is better? See, actually, Keras is working on top of TensorFlow, right? We require both. For Keras to work, we require TensorFlow. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
ma'am.
everyone for patient listening.
Thank you, ma'am.